You can see it's split right there. We have this, and to refill it, hello, welcome to Waypoint Survival. Today, I want to talk to you about the top 10 items that a 1930s hobo might carry in his pack. Stay tuned. Many years ago, the hobos and the people of the classic era were talking between 1870 on through the 1930s and right up into the Second World War. They often had to repair the items that they carried. Either you repaired it or you just made do without it. And so a lot of these repair items would have been things that you could have easily carried. It would have been things that were lightweight, easy to pack, but would allow you to effect a large number of repairs while you're out in the field, sitting under a bridge, waiting for a train. And of course, just like the old adage, a stitch in time saves 9. A hobo would have known that when something starts to tear, the quicker you can mend it or repair it, the longer it'll last you. Let's get to that right now. The first thing that you would need, not included in the kit of course, would be some sort of a bag. And this is just a simple cloth bag with a drawstring, something to hold your items close so that they didn't scatter around your pack or get lost while you were carrying it. And depending on the size of your gear or your kit, this could easily be slid into a pot or something of that nature. Again, it's compact and ready for travel. Opening the drawstring, first item that we see kind of sticking out the top is an old flathead screwdriver. Now this is much older than say the 1930s, and you can see that it's pretty banged up. It's got a crack in it here, but this would be something that would be cast off, wouldn't be good for real heavy duty use, but something that a hobo could get and carry with him probably pretty cheaply and easily back in the day. The next item we come to is a small file, just a flat file, rather fine. This would be really good for getting nicks out of knives, if you were sharpening kitchen knives for instance, or even your own pocket knife. Something that you could carry quite easily and would help you effect those repairs for which you might make some money. The next item would also be very important. This is a small nail or tack puller. You can see it's split right there. And this also has the added advantage when you slide it onto something to pry it out, it has this split made by a blacksmith, so you have something to leverage that against. This would be extremely important if you're doing repairs to a cot or to upholstery, anything that an honest hobo might turn his hand to make a living, but this would be very handy in making repairs for that sort of thing. The next repair item that we have is simply a pair of small needle nose pliers. Now there's different types of pliers today as there were back then, but this would be very, very handy for all sorts of sewing and mending, especially if you needed to pull a heavy-duty needle through a piece of leather. All kinds of things this would come handy for, as well as reaching into the fire and grabbing out a hot pot so you didn't burn your hands. A pair of pliers would have been very necessary. Another very important part of a hobo's repair kit would be some sort of an awl. Something with a metal tip, sharpened, that you could punch holes in heavy-duty things like leather, like heavy canvas. You keep it protected with an old piece of a cork. It doesn't poke holes in your gear. Again, something very, very necessary for doing repairs when you're out in the field or out on the road as a hobo riding the rails. Next, we have this. Now, many of you may not be familiar with this, but this is a darning egg. And a darning egg would have been very important back in the day because you slip your socks over top of this, and what you do then is it exposes either the heel or the toe, where generally speaking a sock will wear out, and then you can use this to easily darn those holes to make your socks whole again, so you could wear them for another week, another month, however long you needed to have them until you could get a new pair of socks. But these would have been used very extensively back in the day. Along with that darning egg, you might have something like this. This would be a very early World War I type pouch, would contain your repair kit. You'd have a pair of sharp but small scissors, a couple of safety pins. You would have your wool that you would use to darn your socks with. Again, very, very important. You would have a thimble, some cord with various size buttons attached to it. Something like this, a small felt piece that has some items wrapped up in it that you would need for your repairs. Small safety pin and some other needles. We would also carry some sort of a pencil so that we could make marks on things that we were repairing. Also have a heavy-duty glover's needle with some heavy linen thread with a small cork on the end to keep it from poking through your gear. Along with that, you would have an assortment of nails, and you wouldn't necessarily need a hammer to do repairs. What you could do is you'd find an old railroad spike, and that would suffice for hammering things in. You would also want to carry a small length of wire. Very, very useful for hanging pots, hanging up small game, any kind of cooking or repair work. A piece of wire would really be worth its weight in gold. You would definitely want to carry this. Our next item would be some repair tape. Just some clear tape. This would be for music or for books, but also for binding up anything that you might need to tape in a hurry. Again, things sometimes come apart just like they do in modern days. There were things made out of cardboard or pasteboard as it was known. So something like this would have been very, very useful and very, very handy. Pull out and stick on something that you would need for your repairs. Next, we have a small rag. This would be very handy for cleaning things when you were working around, perhaps your hands, but it's tied with a bit of waxed cord. And as we unroll it, we find that we have a small oiling can. Now, this was a type of oiling can that would have been used for sewing machines and things of that nature. The top unscrews, and it has a needle point, so you can use that for small repairs. And to refill it, you can open up this larger area here so you could put more oil in your bottle. We also carry a small sharpening stone. This would be very important, again, for maintaining tools. You could sharpen the scissors, a knife, anything like that. If you're doing work, you wouldn't want something really big. It has to be small and portable. And again, using the rag to wipe and clean things up would be very, very convenient for a hobo to have back in the day. The last item in the bag are Mendets. Mendets were very important, and here's why. Granite ware, which came out in the 1870s, was notorious for rusting through and getting holes in it. This one has a pretty sizable hole right there. I don't know if you can see that, but you can definitely see light through it right here. And this won't be much longer, and it will be a hole as well. So rather than throw away the pot or the cup or the dipper in this sense, you would use a Mendet to mend it or repair it. Inside, we still have the original instructions. Tells you how it would be used. And then we have the various repair items. You would use this to clean out the hole a little more thoroughly. And then different sizes for wherever you wanted to use it. Looking at the back side, you can see that it has a small nut right here. So you would put that in, and then you would smash it and tap it down, and that would help it to seal up. Some more down there in the bottom. A very important repair item, especially again as you're going from house to house and you're trying to find work, and perhaps mending some pots and pans would get you a good meal and maybe a little bit of money. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little foray into the 1930s once again, as we look at what the hobos would have used back during the day as they traveled from place to place, trying just to get a good meal, trying to keep body and soul together, trying to hold on to the hobo code and be someone who was a man of their word, someone who would work hard, an honest day's work for an honest day's wage. And these are some of the things that you might find in a hobo's pack back during those days. This is James Bender for Waypoint Survival. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also make sure and check out the links in the description box below just under the More button. While you're down there, you'll also find our waypointsurvival.com link. And this is where you can sign up to take survival and bushcraft classes at our beautiful training facility in Southern Ohio. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. And when you do subscribe, make sure and press that bell button so that you can stay notified of all of our upcoming videos, and we'll talk to you next time.